The lasagna was burning, just like Beth used to burn it when she ran late. In 20 minutes, Tyler would walk through that door thinking we were signing estate papers. What he didn't know, I'd found out he poisoned her. And Detective Rachel Torres was parked 2 blocks away, listening to every word through the wire taped to my chest. My name is Michael Carson. I'm 68 years old, and I'm about to hear my nephew confess to murder. Let me tell you how I got here. Beth died on April 23, 2016. Pancreatic cancer, 6 months from diagnosis to the end. Dr. Morrison had said 12 to 18 months, possibly more with treatment. Instead, we got 6 months of hell. 6 months of watching the woman I'd loved for 40 years turn into someone I barely recognized, crying out in pain that no amount of morphine could touch. Tyler was there for everything. My sister Jennifer's boy. She died when he was 12, and Beth and I raised him like our own son. He took time off from his financial advisory firm to help with funeral arrangements, paperwork, all of it. He held me when I broke down at the grave. "Uncle Mike," he said, "you don't have to do this alone." 2 weeks after the funeral, Tyler sat me down at this same kitchen table where Beth and I had shared 40 years of meals. He spread papers across the scratched wood surface. "You've got about $2.2 million here," he said, finger tracing down numbers I could barely focus on. "That's solid, but you need someone to manage this properly. Let me handle everything. Investments, taxes, bills. You just focus on healing." I looked at him. Dark hair like his mother. Same smile. The kid who'd lived in our basement through college, who'd brought girlfriends home for Sunday dinners, who'd called Beth Mom at her funeral. I signed the papers. Power of attorney for financial matters. "Thank you," I told him. "I don't know what I'd do without you." "That's what family's for, Uncle Mike." For 7 years, Tyler handled everything. Monthly visits, printouts showing how my investments were doing. 7% return here, 9% there. He'd explain how he was diversifying my portfolio, taking advantage of market opportunities. "You're set for life, Uncle Mike. Mom would be so happy knowing you're taken care of." I trusted him completely. Why wouldn't I? I lived simply. My pension covered my needs. The house was paid off. I volunteered at the food bank, played chess at the community center. Life was quiet but good. Tyler would sometimes bring his business partner Marcus Zhang around, smooth talker in expensive suits. They'd tell me about Carson Zhang Financial Advisory. Tyler had named it partly after me, made me proud. Until November 15th, 2023, when my phone rang while I was making scrambled eggs. "Mr. Carson, this is Patricia Kumar from the IRS. I need to speak with you about your tax filings. It's urgent. You may want to bring a lawyer." 3 hours later, I sat in Patricia Kumar's office, my old friend Alan Reeves beside me. Patricia slid a folder across her desk. "Mr. Carson, you haven't paid income taxes in 3 years. You owe approximately $470,000 in back taxes, penalties, and interest." The room tilted. "That's impossible. Tyler handles everything." "Mr. Tyler Carson filed returns reporting your income as nearly zero. Meanwhile, we've identified withdrawals totaling over $1.7 million from your accounts." "Where did it go?" Patricia opened the folder. Bank statements, transaction records, names I didn't recognize. "That's what we need to determine. This case has been referred to the FBI Financial Crimes Unit. Detective Rachel Torres will contact you." Detective Torres came to my house the next morning. Early 40s, short dark hair, direct gaze that saw right through you. "Mr. Carson, I need to ask about your nephew and Marcus Zhang." She pulled out her tablet. Photos of Tyler and Marcus at restaurants, golf courses, standing in front of a lakefront mansion. "Does your nephew own property outside his condo?" "Not that I know of. This house is in Lake Tahoe, cost $2.4 million and purchased 22 months ago." I couldn't speak. "Marcus Zhang is under investigation for running a Ponzi scheme. Your nephew was funneling your money into it while also taking large sums directly. We believe he stole approximately $1.7 million over 7 years. The words didn't make sense. Tyler, the boy I'd raised. There's something else, Torres said quietly. We need to ask about your wife's death. The world stopped. Beth died of cancer. What does she have to do with this? The life insurance payout was $500,000. Our investigation shows your nephew had severe gambling debts in early 2016, approximately $180,000. What are you saying? After your wife's diagnosis, who helped care for her? Tyler came by almost every day. He'd bring her meals, help with her medications, sit with her so I could rest. Torres looked at me with something like understanding in her eyes. Mr. Carson, we'd like your permission to exhume your wife's body. Our medical examiner believes there may be irregularities in her death. They exhumed Beth's body on December 10th. I sat in my truck in the cemetery parking lot, unable to watch them dig up her grave. The toxicology report came back on December 23rd, right before Christmas. Torres sat across from me in my living room. Mr. Carson, we found elevated levels of a substance in your wife's tissue samples, a derivative of a chemotherapy agent. In wrong doses, it doesn't slow cancer growth, it accelerates it. I don't understand. Someone was poisoning your wife to speed up her death. The medical examiner believes it was administered through her pain medication. Your wife should have had another 6 months to a year. I thought about those last 6 weeks. Beth crying, apologizing for being a burden. Her confusion when the medication didn't help. The way she'd looked at me one night and whispered, "Something's wrong, Mike. Something tastes wrong." And I'd told her it was just the cancer. Torres was still talking. We believe Tyler needed money fast to pay gambling debts. Your wife was dying anyway. The insurance payout would solve his problems. He just needed to speed things up. I stood and walked to the window. Outside, snow was falling. Beth had loved the first snow of winter. Where is he? We don't know yet. He and Marcus Zhang disappeared 4 days ago. We have warrants out. Is there anywhere he might go? I thought back over 7 years of conversations, all those printouts, all those explanations. Had any of it been real? Then I remembered something. The cottage. Beth's family had a cottage on Lake Huron, up near Bayfield. It was in her name. After she died, Tyler said he'd take care of selling it. Said the market was bad, we should wait. Torres was already on her phone. They found Tyler and Marcus at the cottage 3 days later. December 26th. Torres called me at 6 in the morning. We got them, Mr. Carson. But I wasn't crying from relief. I was crying because Tyler had been at Beth's bedside every day during those last 6 weeks, bringing her medication, holding her hand, whispering that he loved her, and every single day, he'd been killing her a little more. The trial preparation took weeks, depositions, questions, the same answers over and over. But there was something else I needed to know first. Alan found it when we were going through Beth's papers, a sealed envelope in her safety deposit box marked, "For Mike. Open only if something seems wrong." I sat in the bank's private room and opened it with shaking hands. My dearest Mike, if you're reading this, something has gone terribly wrong. The medication tastes different. Tyler brings it, but it doesn't feel right. I don't want to believe it. He's our boy. But a mother knows. Mike, if Tyler did this, forgive him. Not for his sake, for yours. Don't let his betrayal poison you the way he poisoned me. I need to tell you something else. I forgive you for 2010. I forgave you years ago. You became the man I always believed you could be. These last 6 years were the happiest of my life. Tyler, if you're reading this over Mike's shoulder, I loved you like my own son. That's why this hurts the most. I would have given you everything. You just had to ask. Live well, my love. Don't let him take that from you, too. Forever yours, Beth. I sat in that room and read it 5 times. Beth knew. She knew in 2010 when she'd found those emails between me and Sarah from work. Nothing physical had happened, but the emotional connection had been there. Real enough that Beth had almost left me. Real enough that we'd spent 6 months in counseling, working through it. Those 6 years after, from 2010 to 2016, had been the best of our marriage. We'd finally figured out how to be the people we were supposed to be, and Tyler had taken the last 6 months of that from us. I folded the letter carefully. I knew what I had to do. I called Torres that afternoon. Detective, I want to help. I want to get him to confess. There was a long pause. Mr. Carson, we have enough evidence to convict. You don't need to do this. Yes, I do. I need to hear him say it. Another pause. You know I can't let you do anything that might compromise the case. I won't. I just want to talk to him, get him to explain why. Okay, but you wear a wire and I'm parked close by. At the first sign of trouble, we're coming in. Understood. Tyler had been released on bond 2 weeks after his arrest. His lawyer had argued he wasn't a flight risk since he'd been caught. House arrest with ankle monitor. He was staying at a friend's apartment downtown. I called him on March 11th, 2024. Uncle Mike. His voice sounded tired, strained. I've been wanting to talk to you. Come to the house tomorrow, 7 o'clock. We need to discuss some final estate papers, things that need to be sorted before the trial. Are you sure? I mean, with everything. 7 o'clock, Tyler. Don't be late. The next day, Torres came by at 5 to set up the wire. Small device taped to my chest, microphone no bigger than a shirt button. Remember, she said, just have a normal conversation. Let him talk. Don't push too hard or he'll know something's wrong. I raised him for 26 years. I know how to talk to him. She looked at me with something like sympathy. Mr. Carson, are you sure you want to do this? Hearing him confess, it's going to hurt. He killed my wife. I'm already hurt. After Torres left, I started cooking. Beth's lasagna recipe, the one she used to make every Sunday. I pulled it from the oven slightly burned around the edges, exactly how she always made it when she ran late. Set the table with 2 plates and Beth's wedding photo between them. At exactly 7 o'clock, Tyler knocked. I opened the door. He looked thinner. The past few months had been stressful. Good. Uncle Mike. He hugged me. I made myself hug him back. The wire pressed against my ribs. Come in. I made dinner. He followed me to the kitchen and stopped when he saw the table. The lasagna. 2 plates. Beth's empty chair. Her photo. You made Mom's recipe, he said quietly. Seemed appropriate. I sat down. Sit. He hesitated, looking at Beth's chair, then sat across from me. I served the lasagna, watched him pick up his fork, put it down, pick it up again. His hands weren't quite steady. Do you remember the last time your mom made this? I asked. Uncle Mike, do you remember? Yes. His voice was quiet. The last Sunday before she died. She was too weak to stand for long. You helped her, didn't you? Stirred the sauce while she sat at the table giving directions. I remember. You told her you loved her that day. Tyler's fork clattered against his plate. Why did you ask me here? To talk about your mom. You spent a lot of time with her those last 6 weeks. Brought her meals, sat with her so I could rest. I wanted to help. He wasn't looking at me anymore, staring at his plate. You brought her medicine too. He looked up sharply. The pharmacy was on my way home. Funny thing. I cut into my lasagna slowly. I called Henderson Pharmacy last week, talked to Janet. She's been there 20 years. She checked their records. They don't have any record of you ever picking up Beth's prescriptions. The color drained from Tyler's face. I must have used a different... There's only one pharmacy, Tyler. Beth's insurance only covered Henderson's. He stood up. I should go. This was a mistake. Sit down. Uncle Mike. I said sit down. He sat. His hands were shaking now. I could see sweat on his forehead. She told me something those last few weeks. I kept my voice level, calm, the way I used to talk through problems when I was reviewing structural plans. She said the medicine tasted wrong. She was confused. The cancer that killed her in 6 months when Dr. Morrison said she had a year, maybe more. Everyone's different. The doctor was just estimating. Tyler. I put my fork down. Stop. He was breathing fast now, looking at the door, at Beth's photo, anywhere but at me. She knew, I said quietly. She knew something was wrong with the medicine you brought her. That's crazy. I would never. I pulled Beth's letter from my pocket and slid it across the table. Read it. His hands shook as he picked it up. I watched his face as he read, watched the exact moment he got to the part where Beth wrote about the medicine tasting different, about how Tyler brings it. This doesn't prove anything, he whispered, but his voice had no strength. They exhumed her body, Tyler. He looked up at me, and I saw it, the moment he knew it was over. The toxicology report showed elevated levels of a compound, a derivative of a chemotherapy agent. In wrong doses, it doesn't slow cancer. It accelerates it. I leaned forward. Someone was putting it in her pain medication. Someone who brought her medicine every day. Uncle Mike, please, how much did you owe them? My voice was still calm, but inside I was screaming. How much was her life worth? Tyler put his head in his hands. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible. $180,000. I owed $180,000 to people who were going to kill me. So you killed her instead. I didn't want to. He looked up, tears streaming down his face. God, Uncle Mike, I swear I didn't want to. But Marcus said the insurance money could fix everything, pay off my debts, start fresh. And she was dying anyway. She was already dying. So you decided to help her along. I thought it would just make it faster. Marcus said she wouldn't suffer as long, but it didn't. He broke down. It didn't work like that. She suffered more. I could see it. Every day she was in more pain, and I kept bringing the medicine because I didn't know how to stop. I was in too deep. You could have stopped any time. I couldn't. Marcus had me, trapped. The money, the gambling, all of it. You killed my wife. I stood up. My hands were steady. My voice was steady. Everything inside me was breaking, but I stayed steady. You poisoned the woman who raised you, who loved you like her own son. I know. Tyler's whole body was shaking now. I know. Uncle Mike, I loved her. I loved her so much. I loved money more. And that's the most horrible thing about me. I knew what I was doing. I knew, and I didn't stop. I walked to the front door and opened it. Detective Torres and 2 uniformed officers came through. Tyler Carson, Torres said, pulling out handcuffs. You're under arrest for the murder of Elizabeth Carson and 43 counts of fraud. Tyler looked at me as they cuffed him. Uncle Mike, please. I'm your family. You're supposed to. You stopped being my family, I said quietly, when you poisoned my wife. They let him out past the neighbors who'd come out to watch, past the house where Beth and I had lived for 42 years. I closed the door and sat back down at the table. Beth's lasagna was cold now. Her photo looked back at me. I did it, Beth, I whispered. I got him to confess. But I didn't feel victorious. I just felt empty. The trial was in September 2024. 8 months of legal procedures, depositions, expert testimony. Marcus Zhang pleaded guilty to fraud charges in exchange for testifying against Tyler. He confirmed everything. The Ponzi scheme, the poisoning, the gambling debts. All of it. I attended every day. sitting in the same spot. Tyler's lawyer tried to argue that Marcus was lying to reduce his sentence. But the evidence was overwhelming. Beth's toxicology report, the financial records showing Tyler's debts, the timeline matching Beth's rapid decline, the insurance payout going directly into accounts Tyler controlled, my recording from the dinner, and Beth's letter. On the final day, the prosecutor asked if I wanted to make a victim impact statement. I walked to the stand with Beth's letter in my hand. "Your Honor," I said, "this is from my wife, written 2 weeks before she died." I read it. All of it. The courtroom was silent except for my voice. When I got to the part where Beth addressed Tyler directly, I looked at him. He was crying, shoulders shaking. "Tyler, if you're reading this over Mike's shoulder, I loved you like my own son. That's why this hurts the most. I would have given you everything. You just had to ask." I folded the letter and looked at Tyler. "She forgave you. I can't. Not yet." The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Second-degree murder, 43 counts of fraud, theft, money laundering. The judge sentenced Tyler to 25 years to life. Eligible for parole in 18 years. Marcus Jong got 15 years federal time. I walked out of that courtroom into September sunshine, and I thought about Beth, about how she'd always loved September. The way the light changed, she used to say. The way everything felt possible again after summer's heat. Asset recovery took until January 2025. Alan worked miracles. Tyler and Marcus had purchased the Tahoe house together for $1.8 million in 2022, using pooled funds from the Ponzi scheme and my stolen money. By the time it was seized and sold, it had appreciated to $2.4 million, along with luxury cars, offshore accounts, and other assets. The total recovery was $2.67 million. But there were 38 victims in Marcus's Ponzi scheme. I got 30% of the recovered assets, about $600,000. Not even a third of what I'd lost, but something. I still had $500,000 in accounts Tyler hadn't been able to touch. The house equity and one retirement account I'd forgotten existed, so my total was $1.1 million, minus the IRS debt of $470,000. That left me with $630,000. After 42 years of work, after Beth's life insurance, after everything we'd saved and planned for. But I was still standing. I still had the house. My pension gave me $3,500 a month. I wasn't rich, but I was okay. I used $200,000 to start the Elizabeth Carson Foundation, support for victims of family financial fraud, legal assistance, counseling, prevention education. Detective Torres partnered with us. She told me one day over coffee that her father had lost everything to a Ponzi scheme when she was in college. It had destroyed her family. He'd died thinking he'd failed them. "That's why I do this job," she said. "And that's why I want to help with the foundation." Last month, we processed our first case. A woman in her 70s whose grandson had stolen her savings. We got her a lawyer. She's recovering about half. When she called to thank me, her voice shaking, I thought about Beth, about how she'd always said, if you're going through hell, you might as well help other people find their way out. Tomorrow, I'm giving my third talk at the community center. Protecting Your Legacy. 20 people signed up, all of them over 60, all of them worried about their finances, their families, their futures. I'm sitting in my kitchen now preparing my notes when I think about the old man from my first talk. He came up to me after, hands trembling. "My son-in-law wants power of attorney," he said. "Should I trust him?" I thought about Tyler, about the 42 years Beth and I spent building something, about how the people who can hurt you most are the ones you let closest. "Do you trust him?" I asked. "I did. Now I don't know." "Then don't sign. Not yet. Not until you're sure. Get a second opinion. Talk to a lawyer. Take your time." He thanked me and walked away. That's what the foundation is for. That's what Beth would have wanted. I'm meeting Daniel on Thursday, Beth's brother. We haven't spoken since the funeral. He called last month, said he'd been thinking about me, said he was sorry for blaming me after Tyler was arrested. Beth told me to keep an eye on Tyler, Daniel admitted on the phone, about 6 months before she died. She said something felt wrong. I thought she was just being paranoid because of the cancer. I should have listened. I should have listened too, I said. She told me the medicine tasted wrong. I told her it was just the cancer. There was a long silence. She knew, Daniel said finally. Somehow she knew. We're going to try. Figure out how to be family again. What's left of it anyway. He said he has some of Beth's things, photo albums, journals, things he thought I might want. I'd like that. Tyler writes every few weeks, letters from prison. I keep them in a drawer, unopened. Maybe someday I'll read them. Maybe someday I'll be ready to forgive him like Beth did. But not yet. My pension keeps me going. The house is paid off. I volunteer at the food bank twice a week, play chess at the community center on Wednesdays. It's a quiet life, but it's good. Every morning I look at Beth's photo on the mantle and tell her about my day, about the foundation, about the people we're helping. We're doing something good, I tell her. Just like you wanted. Last week, a woman at the food bank asked me if I had children. I started to say no, then stopped myself. I had a nephew, I said. Raised him like a son. Where is he now? Prison. She didn't ask any more questions. The Poison in the Medicine, Part 5 final. I think a lot about 2010, the year everything almost fell apart. The year I had that emotional connection with Sarah from work. Nothing physical ever happened, but the emails were real enough. The late-night conversations were real enough that Beth found them and almost left me. We spent 6 months in counseling. I cut off all contact with Sarah, quit my job and found work at a different firm. Did everything I could to prove to Beth that I was committed to us, to our marriage, to the life we'd built together. Those 6 years after, from 2010 to 2016, were the best years of our marriage. We'd finally figured out how to be honest with each other, how to communicate, how to be the people we were supposed to be. Tyler knew about all of it. Beth had talked to him during that time, cried on his shoulder about what I'd done. He'd told her to forgive me, told her that everyone makes mistakes, and then he'd used it against me. Every time I questioned where the money was going, every time I asked for more details about the investments, he'd say something like, "Uncle Mike, I'd never judge you. Not like some people might." He knew exactly what he was doing. I think about the night Beth wrote that letter, 2 weeks before she died, in pain, confused, scared. And still, she took the time to tell me she forgave me, to tell Tyler she loved him, to try even then to hold our family together. That's who she was. That's who I lost. But Tyler didn't take everything. He took the money. He took her last months. He took my trust. But he didn't take the 40 years we had together. He didn't take the 6 years after we almost lost everything. He didn't take what we built. That's still mine. I think about what Torres told me after the trial. She said most people in my situation either get stuck in anger or they give up entirely. They let the betrayal define the rest of their lives. You're doing something different, she said. You're building something. The foundation isn't just about preventing fraud. It's about giving people back their dignity, their sense of purpose, their belief that good can come from terrible things. We've helped 12 families so far. 12 families who won't lose everything like I did. 12 families who'll know the warning signs, who'll ask the right questions, who'll protect what they've built. Tomorrow, after my talk, Torres and I are meeting with the City Council about expanding the program, making it part of the Senior Center's regular offerings. If we get approval, We could help hundreds of people. Beth would like that. I still don't understand how Tyler could do it. How you can hold someone's hand while you're killing them. How you can look into the eyes of someone who raised you, who loved you, who trusted you completely, and systematically destroy their life. The therapist I saw for a few months after the trial said some people are just wired differently. They can compartmentalize. They can separate the love they feel from the harm they're doing. He probably did love you and Beth, she said. He just loved himself more. I stopped seeing her after that. I didn't need to pay someone to tell me what Tyler had already confessed, what he'd said at that dinner table with tears running down his face. I loved money more. At least he was honest about that. I still set 2 places at the table sometimes, force of habit after 40 years. I'll realize what I've done and start to put the extra plate away, then stop. Leave it there. Pretend Beth's just running late, like she used to. Like she'll walk through that door any minute asking what's for dinner. The grief comes in waves. Some days I'm fine, busy with the foundation, focused on helping people, moving forward like Beth wanted. Other days I can barely get out of bed, can barely look at her photo without breaking down. But I get up anyway, make coffee, read the paper, go about my day, because that's what she asked me to do. Live well, my love. Don't let him take that from you too. I'm trying, Beth. I'm really trying. Daniel and I had coffee last Thursday, first time in 8 years. We sat there for 2 hours, 2 old men trying to figure out how to talk to each other again. He brought a box of Beth's things, photo albums from when she was young, her college yearbooks, a journal she kept in the year before she died. I haven't been able to open the journal yet. I know what it's going to say. About the medicine tasting wrong, about Tyler's visits, about her suspicions. I'm not ready to read it. Not yet. But I will. Eventually. Because she wrote it for a reason. She knew something was wrong, and she documented it. Maybe she thought someone would find it, would figure it out, would stop Tyler before it was too late. We didn't stop him, but we stopped him from hurting anyone else. That has to count for something. Torres texted this morning. Another case. An 80-year-old man whose daughter wants him to sign over his house. The foundation's lawyer is meeting with him this afternoon. This is what I do now. This is who I am. Not the guy who got betrayed, not the victim. The guy who helps other people avoid what happened to him. It's not the retirement Beth and I planned. We were going to travel, see the Grand Canyon, visit Maine in the fall, all those things we said we'd do someday when we had time. We ran out of time. But I haven't. I'm 69 years old. I might have 10 years left. Might have 20 if I'm lucky. I'm going to make them count. For Beth. For the 40 years we had. For the 6 years when we figured out how to really love each other. For the woman who forgave me when she had every reason not to. Who forgave Tyler even as he was killing her. That kind of love doesn't die just because she did. I think about what I'll say at tomorrow's talk. How to explain to 20 strangers that family can hurt you worse than anyone else. That trust is precious and fragile, and once it's broken, it never quite heals the same way. But also that you can survive it. That you can build something new from the wreckage. That forgiveness, real forgiveness, the kind Beth gave, is possible even when it seems impossible. I don't know if I'll ever forgive Tyler. Maybe that makes me weaker than Beth. Maybe it makes me human. Either way, I'm okay with it. What I do know is that every person I help, every family I keep from losing everything, every warning sign I teach someone to recognize, that's me keeping Beth alive. That's me making sure her death meant something. Tyler took a lot from me, but he gave me something too, though he didn't mean to. He gave me purpose. He gave me a reason to get up every morning. He gave me a way to turn the worst thing that ever happened to me into something that might help other people. The foundation, the talks, the families we're protecting. That's my revenge. Not the kind Tyler would understand, because it's not about hurting him. It's about making sure he doesn't win. Making sure that what he did to Beth, to me, to our family, doesn't destroy me the way he intended. I'm still here, still standing, still fighting. And that, more than anything else, is what Beth would have wanted. Tomorrow, I'll give my talk. Help some people. Maybe save a family from what happened to mine. Then I'll come home to this empty house, set 2 places at the table out of habit, and tell Beth about my day. It's not the life we planned, but it's the life I have. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.